Welcome back. The things we used to see in science fiction movies are slowly becoming the norm in everyday life. The most recent example is Tesla, who announced last week that all the new vehicles they produce will be equipped with hardware so that they may eventually operate without human intervention. Jim, are you ready to be taken for a ride?
Yeah, that one scares me a little bit for many reasons, not the least of which is the fact that, as our Deputy Secretary of Transportation said, there's some things infrastructure-wise that need to be in place before that happens. Number two, I don't know about you guys, but I have a GPS in my car, and on more than one occasion, my GPS has told me that I've been driving in a field when I'm actually on a road. It's just a road that's not hit the GPS maps yet, I'm guessing. So I guess from my perspective, yeah, that's a little scary, and I'm not ready to be taken for a ride.
Well, yeah, and let's not forget also, I think it was Apple Maps was having a problem for a little while where it was sending people down roads that like ended at a boat dock or something and just told them drive right into the lake.
Exactly.
So you do have to really worry about that stuff, especially if somebody's, if they're not driving, they may end up going to sleep and, now, oh, well, what happened? I don't know. They were asleep and the car drove itself into the lake.
Yeah.
That scares me a little bit.
Ron, are there people you'd like to see drive into a lake?
No, there are probably some that I've known drive into a lake that I would hope they could come back out. I drove into a body of water one time. It wasn't fun. So.
And it wasn't on purpose, right?
No, it wasn't on purpose. That's a story for another day. Do you realize the last couple of weeks we've talked about Uber and Google, about Uber and Google having a taxi cab that would have no driver.
Right.
We've talked about UPS, Amazon, and others having a truck that would have no driver, that had a drone that would bring the package into. That would bring a package in,
so
and
the
now
car
you're
brings it
talking
to your
about
house,
Tesla.
and the drone puts it on your door.
Yeah, now you have Tesla is involved with a project. It's going to happen. I remember when we were kids, you had Buck Rogers and the things that he said was going to happen years later, and has any of them not happened? What Buck Rogers said would happen?
Yeah.
And you got 1984, and you got 2001: A Space Odyssey.
All of 1984 is coming true too.
You got all kinds of craziness.
So while it can be problems, whoever thought the phones that we have would do what they do, or what an iPad could do? You never thought that would happen, but it has, and I think this is going to happen sooner than later. And what's the guy's name? Moss?
Yeah, Musk.
Musk.
Elon Musk.
Yeah, Musk said he actually moved it from 3 years up 2 years.
Yeah,
2 years
by the end
done.
of 2017.
Yes.
So really, that's a year.
Yeah.
So.
And Ford is saying 2021. Google hasn't given a hard date, and GM is 2019, I think. But that's crazy.
My biggest concern. All right, so granted, we've got the concern that, oh well, hey, what if the car gets hacked? Okay, I actually have a bigger concern though than the car getting hacked, and that's, well, now all of a sudden you've got a self-driving vehicle that may have to make life and death choices. All right, now let me give you an example. Vehicle's driving along, there's a pedestrian in the road, okay? Vehicle realizes it doesn't have the time to put the brakes on, and it has to make a choice. Do I hit the pedestrian and kill the pedestrian, or do I swerve off the road and kill the driver? I don't know if I want a vehicle making that choice. All right, and then even if it does make that choice, who gets held responsible for the accident?
Right, the car made me do it.
Right, exactly. How can you even file an insurance claim on that? Hey, who was responsible for the accident? The car was. All right, now do you hold the owner of the car responsible? Do you hold the manufacturer of the car responsible? Do you hold the driver or, the person who was sitting behind the steering wheel but not doing anything responsible? It really creates a lot of new ethical issues and legal issues.
But everything we've been doing creates new ethical, legal, insurance. It all happens, and it's going to happen in this particular case as well. Your business in the business sector, how do you see something like this taking over in business using it, or Will business shy away from it
Well,
and let
you know,
companies
I mean,
that care
This
do it?
is just normal stuff. I mean, the reality is for any technology, there are going to be those that are early adopters, and they're going to be on the bleeding edge, and they're going to bleed from adopting that technology. So generally, that's
In this case, they may actually bleed.
yeah. But generally, that's limited to the larger companies that want to make those R&D investments, because that's what you're doing. Somebody else might have built the product, but believe me, you are perfecting it for them. Then there's probably 80% of the companies that really are on the side of they're going to introduce technology that is up to date, but it's not bleeding edge. And I think that's where most companies sit. The other thing that we have to recognize is that if you've heard of Gartner,
Yes.
produced a graphic a while back. It was called the technology hype curve. And what Gartner said basically was that we have this technology trigger, and this is where we start. And then we build this technology up to be the be-all, end-all, solve-all, fix-all. It's going to fix everything. Well, guess what? Then we start implementing it, and we start going down into what they call the trough of disillusionment, meaning we find all of the problems with this technology. 80% of technology, just like your 4,999 pills that never hit the market, 80% of technology ends right there. So we don't even know at this point, at least in my mind, whether this is going to be in its current form a viable technology. And I think that's what we need to look. But it's interesting to see companies going out on a limb and spending money to try to perfect that, because that is what drives innovation, somebody taking a risk.
You know, and you know, I'm in cybersecurity. I actually look at this as job security for me, because you know, one day I'm protecting computer systems. Tomorrow I may be protecting cars. All right. We already have an issue with Chrysler and Jeep vehicles that they can be hacked. Okay, and there's actually been proven cases where someone will hack a vehicle, and now, fortunately, this hasn't been seen in the wild, but it's been done in tests. They'll be able to control the engine, they'll be able to control the brakes, they'll be able to shut the engine off. All right.
That's
now
a
you shut
problem.
the engine off, you lose your power steering.
So what you're
Imagine
saying,
what happens. You're driving down the highway and your engine shuts off
At 70 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Yep.
so what you're saying, a Brinks truck probably won't use this type of technology. They'll probably
I
keep
sure
it.
hope not.
Okay.
I sure hope not. So, but up next, we have the Fast Five. Stay tuned.